Hey guys, how y'all doing out there? Time for another tutorial from me, your boy Malik, Pinnacle Studio Pro. Now this tutorial is a request. Somebody had the nerve, the nerve to ask me, do you know how to make a crater? I can make a crater, not the kind of crater that's in your face, but I can make the craters that come from meteors. Now, you need a little bit of help to do this, okay? I use some effects. I use some things from Actions Essentials. I use the crater for the ground from there. I use the debris, the dust, those things from there. And also, I used a meteor or asteroid from Space Elements from TubeTape.com. Also, the Earth and the planets you see are from that same Space Elements, and also the landscape at the beginning. So I used a lot of extra stock footage to do this, and I had to manipulate it in the way I want to with my skills that I bring to my people. Let's get into it. Now this takes a long time to do, so I'm not going to go through every step, but I'm going to be gracious enough to show you the settings that I used on each one of the clips so that you know how to do it as well. Alright, so you're not going to get to see previews of stuff and all of that, but you will know how to do it when you're done. It's a little bit different for me. I usually show you everything, but this takes too long to do. Alright, first and foremost, this first clip down here is from Space Elements from TubeTape. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to go to Open Effects Editor. When I do, you can see here I got an effect. I got the pan and zoom effect in here. And to do that, you just go to Camera and pan and zoom. There it is. All right. Now the settings I used on here, all I really did on this was I zoomed it in some because there were some black bars around it. So I zoomed it in to get rid of those and to get a better view of the planets and things in the video. That's all I did with that clip. You would hit OK. I'm going to freaking hit cancel because I don't want to change anything on here. Then I placed a clip right above that one of the picture of the meteor. Now, this is a PNG image that I created using Photoshop Elements. And there's a link in the description, and there's a link right now at the top of this video that shows you how to create it. I'm not going to create it over again. A PNG transparent image. And that's because the only thing that you would see is the meteor. Everything else you can see through. As you can see, the meteor is going. There's nothing else. So I'm going to right click on this. Go to Open Effects Editor. And I did a few things on here. First thing I did was I did rotate. And I used keyframes. I enabled keyframes for this by clicking on the turn on and off keyframing. And what I did was I left the size at 100 and I did the rotation at -360, and then I moved it forward a little bit to this position here where you see this keyframe, and I did rotation 0. What that does is it makes it spin around. All right. Then I added the 2D Editor Advanced. For this one, you go to 2D, 3D, and 2D Editor Advanced. There you go. On this one, I changed it to no preset. And I did the position and the size. Now, for the position, I went horizontal 56 and vertical 15.7. What that does is on this first keyframe here, it makes it start off the screen because the horizontal 56 is off the screen. And the vertical, I moved it up a little bit so it looks like it's going at an angle. And at my next keyframe, I have it at -58, which is off the screen to the left, and -12, which means it's going to go down diagonally. The size, I made that 30 because I want it to look a little bit smaller. And you see the size is the same on both keyframes. It's 30. Stays the same on both keyframes. All right. And then because this is moving, I added a blur. So there is no keyframe on this because the blur is the same all the way across. And the blur amount I have it on is 4. And you would click OK after you're done. Oh, forgot to show you how to get to blur. My bad. You just go to Camera and Blur to add the blur. My bad, I'm not perfect, okay? I make mistakes too. I'm only... Okay, whatever. I'm not going to sing to you. I usually like to get a little song in here and there, but not today. I'm going to leave that alone. You would click OK. I'm going to click cancel. So we got our first little clip put together. The next one I got here is one of the Earth, which once again is from the Space Elements from Tube Tape. I did the same thing to this one. I'm going to right click it, go to Open Effects Editor. All I did to this one was add the pan and zoom. Zoomed in a little bit to get the black bars off from around it. All right. You would click OK. I'm going to click cancel. And once again, if you don't know how to get the pan and zoom, I showed you the first time. It's camera, pan, and zoom. All right. Damn it. I'm hitting cancel. Now, I have another asteroid right above that. So I'm going to right click on this. Of course, you want to stretch out the picture to make it match the same size of the Earth element from Space Elements. I'm going to go to Open Effects Editor. And I have the same effects on this one. Now, I have the rotation keyframed again. This time I did a little different. Actually started off on 0. And my last keyframe is 360 on this one instead of negative 360 and 0. So I went the opposite direction on my spin. On 2D Editor Advanced, I went the opposite on that too. Only did position and size once again. But this time I started at negative 76.5 as a horizontal, which is going to be way off the screen over here. And 23 on the vertical. So as you see, it's going to come onto the screen. And then my last keyframe is at 0 horizontal, 0 vertical, and size 0, 0. What that does, let me go ahead and click on solo and show media and tracks below for you. What that does is it brings it right to the middle of the Earth because it's horizontal and vertical is at 0. And the size is at 0, so it went from big to small. You'll see it's getting bigger, going on that way. It comes in and gets smaller. It makes it look like it's actually going to the Earth right in the middle. That's a wrap. And then on the blur, went ahead on this one and we did blur at 3 on this one. So we're good. Once again, you need that blur to make it look like it's actually moving. You would hit OK. I'm going to hit cancel. So we got our first 2 clips down. Hooray. Next clip. I'm going to move over here. Now, at the bottom, I just have like the street with nothing in it. Nothing going on. It's just a freaking street. The house is on it and all of that. You could put yourself in it. You could do whatever you want to with it. This is how I did it for this one. Above that, the first clip I have is one of the meteor again. Another picture of the PNG transparent image. I'm going to double click on this. That's going to bring it right up into the effect editor. Now, as you can see, I got a lot of effects on this one. All right. First one is rotate. Left it at 100 for the size. And I keyframe the rotation. Just activate your keyframes there. Start off on 0, went to 360. Next one, 2D Editor Advanced. Position and size only on this one. I started off to the upper right hand corner, which is the horizontal 35.6 and vertical at 44.7. It's not quite off the screen, and that's because the size is 0. If the size starts off at 0, it doesn't matter whether it's on the screen or not. I want it to look like it's coming from the distance instead of coming from off the screen, so I started it at 0 and left it a little bit on the screen at 35.6. Let me go down here. I'm going to click on solo and change it to media and tracks below so you can actually see that when I move it forward to this next keyframe, it just kind of appears when I step forward from the horizon. Just comes out of nowhere. And that's what I wanted it to do. And then on the last keyframe, I brought the size up so it's bigger as it gets closer. And I made it negative 3.2 and negative 35, which is going to bring it down and towards the middle of the screen where I want it to hit the ground. Then we got blur. All right, on the blur, of course, just change your blur amount to 3. Now, I didn't go to show you how to get to those because I already showed you how to get to those 3 freaking effects, but I didn't show you how to get to outline. You might not have outline because it's with the new blue effects. You may need to use shine or something like that to do this effect, and you can use shine to do it if you want to. I use outline because it's a lot quicker. So how you get to this is you go to add-ons, get your new blue effects, and you got outline right here. All right. So if I click on outline, you'll see the settings that I have. I made the width of the outline 50, soften 100, and I chose the color by clicking on the color and choosing the color that I wanted. And I have that nice little outline, kind of look like it's hot, you know, because I'm hot, so I make my stuff look hot. You know how I do. And then I got no light factory on here. So for that, you go to add-ons, Red Giant Motion Graphics Toolkit, and no light factory. You click on that, it'll bring up your settings. So I'm clicking on this, and all I did for the first one was use the preset of red laser. All I really did was just added a little bit of red tint at a few times in the video. As you can see, there's some red in it right there. Just made a little red line go really across the meteor just to give it a little hint of heat coming through as well. Just add a little bit of flare to it. And then I added another instance of no light factory, and I added desert sun to that one just to brighten it up a little bit. Make it look a little bit brighter as it comes onto the screen. You would hit OK. I'm hitting cancel. Now, we only use the things from tube tape, space elements on that part. Now, for the last part, everything that we're using actually comes from Action Essentials. Now, I used Dust Wave 7 as the top, on the top track to make some dust look like it's in front of the meteor when it hits. I also used a big hole at the top because it needs to be on top of everything when the effect is done, because you need to have the hole still there and you don't want to have stuff sitting on top of it that looks fake. And then the next thing I used on the track below that was bouncing debris, because I want that to come from kind of like in front of and behind the hole, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Then I used a dirt charge, and the dirt charge is underneath that one on the next track down. Then we have more debris to be behind it, and we have more dust to be behind everything. So everything that's below the hole is going to be behind it. Everything that's above it is going to be ahead of it. But we're also going to use a little bit of transparency deal on the hole to kind of make it come from behind the smoke and everything else. All right, because we got to make it look as realistic as possible. So for the dust wave, I'm going to right click on it and go to Open Effects Editor. Few different things I did on here. First, I did the Luma Keyer. So you go to Keyers and Luma Keyer. Click on that. It'll bring up your settings. When I brought that up, I just basically moved my Luma center to 33.66 and left everything else the same. Then we got 2D Editor Advanced. I showed you how to get there already, so I'm not going to show you again. The settings that I use for this, I use position and size on this. And I actually also use transparency on this one. For position, you just horizontal and vertical where you need it to go, right where the meteor hits the ground. Okay. And you do the same thing with your size. Size it up how you want it. Now, transparency. I actually have transparency on here, and I have some keyframes with this. Now, the reason why, because dust doesn't stay the same. It lightly moves away and dissipates. So what I did was I started off my transparency at 50, moved it up a little bit, made a new keyframe where I had my transparency at 75, and moved it way up again where I have my transparency at 100, where actually the dust is now gone off the screen. So by doing that, your dust slowly disappears off of the screen. Looks very realistic. Other thing that I did was on these keyframes, I also moved the size up. So you'll see I started off with size at 60, and then 75.5, and then 130. Now what that does is it makes it look like the wind is pushing the dust forward, okay, into the frame of the camera. So that kind of makes it look like you get a little bit extra motion by doing that. So that's pretty cool. All right. So we're done with that one. And an image correction. Basically what I did on this was I brought the contrast down. Saturation brought that down. Temperature brought it all the way down. And haze brought down a little bit. I did that to make the color of the dust match. Because the color of the dust in Action Essentials is actually kind of like brown. So I wanted to match the color of the dirt, the hole, the ground, the asphalt. So it actually looks like it's the same, coming from the same place. If you don't do that, it looks fake. All right. And that's that. I'm going to click cancel. You would click OK. All right. Next, we got a freaking big hole. I'm going to right click on this. Go to Open Effects Editor. Now I'm going to go down here to Solo and change it to Show Media and Tracks Below. First thing I did was I had to get with my Luma Kia. Let me move this forward here. So you can actually see the freaking hole. Alright. So with the Luma Kia, I went ahead and moved the Luma Center to 23.58. Left the radius at 25. Made it look beautiful and perfect for me, my friend. Next thing I did is I did a pan and zoom on this. To get to pan and zoom, you just go to Camera and pan and zoom. I think I showed you that already, but I'm showing it to you again. The reason why I did that is because, unfortunately, when you get these effects, there could be some black bars on the side, so I zoomed it in closer so those black bars would go away. And one of the black bars on there. And then we got 3D Editor GPU. You go to Add-ons. Sorry, you don't go to Add-ons. Okay, like I said, I'm not perfect. You go to 2D, 3D. And then you got 3D Editor GPU. The reason why you want to use that one is because this has a X and Y axis that you can go ahead and change the look of the crater. You can make it show more of it to the front, bottom, whatever. If you go to position, you just got to position it vertically where you want it. Horizontally as well if you need to. Size, you make your size how you want it. And then rotation, you see I did the X at -50. If I move this, let's say I make it 0. Well, now you start to see what the X axis does on the rotation. Changes how it looks and how you look at the image. Pretty cool. All right, but I need to change it back to where I had it. All right, that's that. You would hit OK. I'm going to hit cancel. All right. Next, we got our debris. So I'm going to right click on this and go to Open Effects Editor. Basically, all we did was we did the Luma key on this. Change our settings. The 2D Editor Advanced. Changed our size. Changed our horizontal and vertical to put it where we wanted it. No keyframes on that. I'm going to hit cancel. And then the last thing is our dirt charge. And the reason why I say last thing is these two are the same. You got your dust wave and you got your bouncing debris. You do them just like you did the other ones. So I'm not going to do those again. It'd be a waste of my time and yours. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on the dirt charge and go to Open Effects Editor. And basically you got the same stuff on here. You got your Luma here. You got your settings there. 2D Editor Advanced. Position, size, all you need to do. Image correction, once again. You got the same settings as before so that it matches up with everything else. I'm going to hit cancel. And then you just got to go ahead and do your bottom two clips. You got to do your bouncing debris and your dust on the bottom. Add in your freaking sound effects, music, whatever you want to do. And that's a wrap. Finito. How to make a meteor crater in Pinnacle Studio 16 Ultimate. Alright, you guys know the routine. You know what to do. I say it every time, and I'm going to say it every time because I like to. And I don't give a dang who don't like it. Kiss my potato sacks. If you know what those are. Alright, leave me your comments, alright? Comments are what drive me. Leave me your comments. Ask me a question. I will definitely get back to you. If I can't answer your question, I will point you in the right direction and get you the help that you deserve. Click the like button. The thumb that's pointed in the upward direction. Click it, like it, live it, love it, hug it. And last, but definitely not least, don't you ever forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.